Hey, thanks for tuning in today. If you're new to Simple Church and you live in the St. Louis area, we encourage you to come check out one of our live services. We meet every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and we would love to see you. If you've been tuning in for a while now and maybe you even consider Simple to be your church, I want to invite you to partner with us financially. We've made it simple, pun intended. All you need to do is go to the webpage located at the bottom of your screen. If you've already partnered with us financially, thank you. Thank you for coming alongside of us and helping us inspire people all around the world to follow Jesus. And now here's today's service.
I am very, very, very excited about our future and what God has in store for us. Most of you know that a couple years ago, it's been a few years now, we had been, I don't want to use the word struggling, but things have been super tight for us financially. And through the whole thing, what's so magnificent is we never missed a bill. This church has never been late. If you looked us up on a credit score, we've never been late on a bill. We don't slow pay people. And most of you know that we were doing the major construction project here when COVID hit. And just been all kinds of things. And about a year ago, we came to the conclusion that the wisest thing to do was probably sell the building. Wise decisions are hard. I thought they were just hard when you were a teenager, but it turns out that they just get harder, don't they? They just cost more, basically, as you get older. So if you're a teenager and your parents tell you all the time you need to make wise decisions, start now, because it gets easier later. We knew that the most fiscally responsible thing to do was sell, so we began putting our heads together, like, what's that look like? And we came up with this idea, this hope that we could sell our building to an investor and we could rent from them. And every investor we talked to said, well, here's the deal. What you guys pay in a mortgage payment, we would have to double or triple to make money. So unless you just want to rent like one of the offices, that's probably not going to be a good idea. And then we started conversations with the church next door who we bought this property from. And they were interested, and we thought maybe we can talk them into buying the church building and letting us to stay as a renter, or giving them a great deal and staying for free for a few years. And it looked like that was going to happen, and there was a lot of meetings, a lot of negotiations, and it just kept falling apart. And then we just had to get that one meeting where we all looked across the table at each other and said, you know what, we probably are going to have to sell, and we're possibly going to have to relocate. And everything continued to move at turtle speed, as you guys know. It's like we try to be as transparent as we can, and people would come up and go, you haven't said anything in weeks. And we were like, we haven't heard anything in weeks. And it was horrible. And a couple weeks ago, something happened, and the turtle turned into a rabbit. We went from turtle speed to this rabbit speed, high gear. And the church next door came and said, we definitely want it, but here's our stipulations. Here's what's going on. And so I want to start by telling you today, we officially signed a contract last week with the church next door. They are purchasing this building back from us, and we are actually closing on it, get this, on June 2nd, 2025. So this means, counting today, we have 4 more Sundays in this building, and here's what I want you to do. Take a deep breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. That was all for me, okay? It wasn't for you. That's just me being selfish. After hours and hours of prayers and meetings, and then more hours of prayers and looking at properties for lease, looking at properties for sale, and more prayers, we kept hitting a brick wall. And then God opened this door like he's done for us so many times. And if I'm going to be super honest with you, the best way I know to say this is he blew us away once again. But before I tell you where we're headed, I want to talk about where we've been. 2012, we came up, and I say we, 2 of my sons, my middle son and my younger son, were helping me out because I don't have a creative bone in my body. And we came up with this silly little logo and this name, Simple Church. And in late 2012, we rented a room in one of the Pattonville School District buildings, and we held a pitch meeting. is what we called it, because we were like pitching this idea of a church. Was anybody at that pitch meeting in 2012? I know that Dana and Kathy were there. We had this pitch meeting. We said, hey, we've got this idea. And I started like this. I said, hey, the last thing this area needs is another church. And I realized that, and I don't want to be another church. I want to be an outward-facing church. And then I explained some of my vision, and we just said, if you want to go along for this ride, come along. I think there were 30 or 31 people at that meeting. We had struck a deal with the Pattonville School District that we were going to rent that room from them every Sunday from the first Sunday in December through 2012 through December 2013, and they were charging us like $50 a week. I mean, we had this incredible deal, and a week before launch Sunday, the superintendent, who had become a friend of mine because I was a youth pastor so long in that district, called me up, and he said, Russ, I got to tell you something. When you made the reservations for the building and filled out all the contract, the person who put it in was a new employee, and she put in your start date and she put in your stop date, but she forgot to put any of the dates in between. So over the last few weeks, people have been booking, and don't worry, we're going to make it right. But here's what this looks like. You guys are going to be in a different building every Sunday. And I was like, let me ask you a question. Soup. I called him Soup all the time. I said, Soup, let me ask you a question. How do you think that would work, launching a church? And it's like, where's Waldo? You know, you pray, and if God tells you where to show up, you're going to be a part. And if he doesn't, you don't really hear from, I'm like, this is not going to work. And so I started knocking on doors of in all seriousness, I knocked on every door in the city of Bridgeton, every church door in the city of Bridgeton. And some of them I asked if we could rent space. Some of them I begged to rent space. Some of them I threatened if they didn't rent us space, and nobody took us seriously. And I had one more door to knock on, and I knocked on it on this unsuspecting Tuesday afternoon, a little church at that time that was at the corner of St. Charles Rock Road and 270. It was called John Calvin Presbyterian Church. And I knocked on the door, it was locked, and the secretary came to the door, and I asked if I could speak to the pastor, and she's a good secretary because she didn't recognize me, and she asked why. And I was like, oh, man. So I'm getting past the gatekeeper here. Well, I could not get past the gatekeeper. She wasn't, I'm pretty sure we're not interested. And I was begging, please let me talk to the pastor. And out from the back room walks this guy. He's got this huge, long ponytail, and he's got earrings and this scruffy beard. And he gets about to the door, and he's like, calls her by name and says, hey, let him in. And I walk in, and I'm like, oh, no. And he's like, well, how are you doing? And I go, I'm doing great, Pastor. How are you? And the secretary's like, you guys know each other? And he said, well, about 2 years ago, I was at a meeting at Pattonville School District, and we all had to stand up and introduce ourselves. And I stood up in a pair of shorts, and he had these Jesus sandals on, as I called them, with socks. Don't do that. But he had Jesus sandals and socks on. I don't care if you're over 90. Don't do that, all right? So he had those on. He had a pair of shorts on, this long ponytail, scruffy beard, these earrings. And he introduced himself, and he said, I'm the new pastor of the Presbyterian church down the street. And I was like, right. He's a Presbyterian church is going to hire that guy. I mean, it's cool looking. And he went on and proved that he was the pastor of the Presbyterian church. And he heard my snide, arrogant, condescending comment. And after that meeting, he walked up to me and said, hey, man, I just want you to know I still love you. And I am like, dude, I am so judgmental. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. And I prayed a prayer that I would never see him again. And that prayer worked for a couple years. And that day when he came walking out, I had forgotten that was the church he was at. And he's like, come on in and sit down with the scruffy beard, long-haired, earring, Jesus sandal-wearing pastor. And I'm like, oh, God, this is the punishment that happens when you're a jerk. And we sat down in his office, and in about 5 minutes, we became friends, and he rolled out the carpet for us. After meeting there for about a year, we outgrew their small sanctuary. During that time, he actually got very ill, and I filled in for him for 2 months. And what everybody said every Sunday is, they're letting that guy get up in a Presbyterian church? And I'm like, I know, it's all payback. But for a year we met there, and we wanted to start meeting on Sunday morning. We could only meet there on Saturday night. We were outgrowing the facility, so we found this building for rent on Hollenberg Drive in Bridgeton behind Bob Evans. A church had been meeting there for a couple years. They were not able to keep the building up, and it was in horrible shape. But it was on the lip of the landfill, the radioactive landfill. And so nobody wanted it, which was perfect for us. We're like, the guy who owned it went, now you do know there's a radioactive landfill right across it. And I went, yes, we know. We love it. I grew up here. And it's like, yes, I still twitch every once in a while, but so far everything still works. So I'm like, we'll take it. And we put some money in it and some time. I just had this flashback of Matt Braun being over there. Matt, you were over there all the time with your hammer and nails, and we did a lot of work to that building. It had been for sale for like 12 or 13 years, so we knew nobody was going to buy it. I mean, there it is. So during that time, we brought Kevin on staff, and I remember the first day he came on, I'm like, Kev, we need to do something, so I want you to get like some lights. We need a little lighting system, and we need some kind of curtain to cover the windows, and we need a set of drums, and we need to come up with an idea for a sign. And he was taking notes, and he's like, okay. And I said, and here's $150. And he was like, well, what is that for? I go, all that stuff I just told you. And here's what he came up with. I think we have a picture of it. There we go. Yeah, and he was nice and labeled it when he gave me that picture after he was done. Kevin and I built that sign in a member's workshop out of free pallets, and one of the other guys got the letters for us, and we did it. It was the first time Kevin and I had ever used a nail gun, and when we were done, we went to pick it up, and we had nailed it to the table. And in all honesty, it took us 2.5 hours to unnail the sign from the table so we could hang it on the wall. We also didn't take into consideration that it weighed 700 pounds, but there it hung. I think we were at that building. I think it was the first Mother's Day that Kevin was with us on that building that this happened, and hopefully you can read this next slide from your seat. Kevin asked me, it was Mother's Day was coming up, and he's like, I got a great idea for Mother's Day. Can I sing this Leonard Skinner song on Mother's Day? And I was like, are you crazy? And he went, yeah. And we sang it, and some of you are still here. Thank you. Others maybe didn't like it as much as some people, but that building had been for sale for 12 years, and it's close to that radioactive landfill, so we know nobody's going to buy it. And after being there a little over a year, some unsuspecting Wednesday, there's a knock on the door. The guy who owns the building, who we'd never even met, he says, hey, I'm showing Bob the building here today. And a half hour later, he walks in my office and he's like, hey, Bob's going to buy the building. And I'm like, really, when's Bob going to buy the building? Well, he wants it like in the next couple weeks. And at the bottom of our contract, there was this little asterisk that said if anybody ever decided to buy it, we had 60 days to get out. We were freaking out because we had put every dime we had in it. So a church planting network that we belong to called the Metro Baptist Association, who just kind of adopted us in, which was kind of wild. The Baptists invited us in. We were cool with women in leadership, and the Baptists invited us in. And it was like, wow, you guys know that, right? And they were like, that's okay. Well, you're on this level, but you can come in. And they said, hey, we've got a building you can use for free. So for like 6 months, we met there for free. And I think that's where we were meeting when we formed a relationship with a church there in the Bridgeton area. And we started serving with them. There's this next slide. They gave us a thank you card once. And I think the next slide has the inside of it. They wrote all these cool notes to us about things we had done. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Here's what we did with them several weeks in a row. They served an area of Bridgeton and St. Anne that was a lot of low income. I think we have another shot of that. What was crazy is that building, when Becky went with me and we walked in to see what they were doing. It's an old movie theater over by Northwest Plaza. And they had bought the theater and turned it into a church, and that was the area that once a week they would have people come in and they would feed them and have activities for the kids. And Becky and I walked in to meet with the pastors, and she looked at me and she's like, is this where we're going to be serving? And I went, yeah. And she goes, do you remember what happened in this building? And I said, absolutely. That is where I took Becky on our first date in 1987 to that movie theater. We went to see Ernest Goes to Camp. Yeah. And she married me. She is the craziest woman in the world. Let's go see Ernest Goes to Camp. It's a real blockbuster. And yeah. And then I took her to Hardee's afterwards to eat. Sometimes I wonder why she said yes. I'm like, are you kidding me? Pasta House became our favorite. Anybody remember Pasta House in Northwest Plaza? Yeah, I had a cousin that worked there, so it was buy one, get one free. So we would go there every once in a while, too. Do we have another slide of that one? I can't remember if that another slide is that one or not. No. So after our free time was up at the Metro Baptist building, we struck a deal with the church next door to be a renter in this building. But what happened when it was time to rent it, it wasn't ready yet. And when I say it wasn't ready, we came over one day and you know, we're pretty close to Lambert and we could hear a plane. It was like flying over and Dana and Kenny were with me and Kenny's like, man, it just feels like that plane's right over us. And Dana looked up and went, it is. And we were like, what? And he goes, look. And we weren't standing under the skylight. You could see through the roof of this building up into the heavens. And we were like, is this part of God's plan or what? And they just couldn't get construction going fast enough. So we decided to do work here ourselves. And they put us up in their student center for several months while we did the work here. I think we have some shots. Yeah, there's that. That's what the old sanctuary across looked like when we started working on that area. I think we have another shot of, gosh, that brings back memories. That was Brenda Krekel. Brenda was one of our founding members. Jeez. Brenda did a lot for us, and we lost her several years ago. That's Kathy Musgrove showing her muscles. Yeah, I knew she'd be real happy about that picture. I think we had Dana's up there acting like he's working on something, and with electric. Neil Clark, man, Neil, you did a ton of stuff for us to make that building happen that room happen over there. When we completed that work over there, the Erminie came and had her glasses on there for safety and sun, which we couldn't figure out. It was because of the holes in the roof, I guess. She was worried about getting too much sun exposure. I think we got some more shots of that, don't we? Is it what it looked? There we go. When we were finished with that room, that's what that room looked like. How many of you came when we were across the hallway in that room? Yeah, a lot of you. It was a good growing time in that room. What else do we have from over there? Another shot from that room. We started getting full over there, and we knew we had to do something, and we didn't have a place to go. Got some more shots. This is Kenny looking one day going, can you believe all these people are coming? And I'm like, wow, that's real encouraging, Ken, thanks. But I couldn't. I couldn't believe it. I think there's some more slides on this one. Coffee bar, that's what it looked like back in the day. That was our kids' church back in the day. That was Little Will back in the day. Oh my gosh. Crazy. If you don't know Will, you haven't been here long. Look at that. Tandra, I got to say, that hair is the bomb right there. I'm like, look at the ladies up there. That was such a good time over in that little sanctuary. Back to the kids' church pictures. Man. Oh, and I got to tell you, these were my favorite right here, man, when we would pack that hallway out and do baptisms. I know we got a couple more shots of baptism. I was the chaplain for a few years at the Maryland Heights Police Department, and that was one of the officers, Sergeant Dave Zambruski. He and his wife started coming and got baptized here. I think there's a picture of Debbie also. They got married here. They got baptized here. Man, I didn't think this was going to happen today. Whew. Oh, my goodness. Laura, are you here today? Where are you at? I want to see. Hey, man, you remember that day? Oh, my goodness. Laura comes here and gets baptized. Oh, my gosh. These were the best, man. I didn't think this was going to happen today. Gosh, you guys, Then one day we're having this discussion when we're over there because we're just outgrowing it. And Brother Dugas, who they called him Bishop Dugas next door, was the founding pastor and then turned into the bishop for the Presbyterian church next door, or the Pentecostal church rather next door, was over here one day, and I said jokingly, man, we should maybe just buy this from you because it would be cheaper than the rent to own it. And a few weeks later, we found ourselves at a table signing a document, and we bought it. And it was like this room that we're in had been a vacant storage room for 9 years. The kids' church had been a music studio, and we put a ton of work into it. We decided to put carpet over those 1970 brick floors that you saw in the photos of the baptism. And this was a huge project that took way, way more than we thought. And in the ending months of the project, we had a contractor that stole over $30,000 from us and disappeared into the sunset. Then all of a sudden COVID hits and we can't meet. We're doing things online. It was just crazy. And all in, this was like $1 million plus project for us. And we had all these obstacles along the way, and we ended up, once again, having to finish with the power of volunteers. Neil, who's still here, was a part of that. Scott Seppel, who I know that his mom and dad are over there. I saw them come in this morning. John Robinson, Matt, so many of you came, and we put it together, and I think we did good. I really do. I'm very proud of what you guys did. And we made a bunch of memories over the past 13 years. And more importantly than all that, there have been hundreds of lives that have been changed because of this. And this is our story. And so I'm not sure why I'm so surprised that God once again opened the door for us. I felt bad the other night. Becky looked at me and she said, "Why are you so surprised that once again, when it looked like something was going to be tough, why are you so surprised that God did something again? He's been doing this for almost 13 years. And on June 2nd, we close on the sale of this building that needs a new roof. The cheapest bid we got was $200,000 on a building where the loan matures in like 3 months, and our payments were going to go from $5,000 a month to over $7,500 a month. A building that's been holding us back from helping people like we wanted to. Because from day one, I said, I don't care if we rent, own, borrow. I just want to help people. And I want to do it monetarily too, because the Bible speaks to that. When people say things to me like, oh, you guys are into social justice, if you're not into social justice, you are not into Jesus. Because Jesus was about people, and he was about people who were marginalized and people who were hurting, and the scripture's full of it. And if you miss it, you better dig in and look. So yes, I do want to help people. I do want to see that happen. We're closing on June 2nd, and we're going to walk away from this building 100% debt-free. We're going to walk away from this building with like $85,000 or $90,000 in our account. That amount is going to be added to some very generous gifts that we have received in the last few months, with notes from families who said, we are proud of you for making some tough decisions. We are proud of you for being fiscally responsible. And because of their donations in that, it goes up to $130,000. That's going to be added to some more funds because of some of you who give just all the time. And that takes us up to like $150,000. We're going to immediately begin to save over $7,000 a month because we won't have a mortgage payment or all these utilities or the upkeep. But the big question is still, where are we going, right? Yeah. 12 years ago, when I decided that we were going to start this thing called Simple Church, I felt like we were supposed to do it in the Bridgeton, Maryland Heights area. It's because it's where I lived, and I was plugged in, and I served so long, and I forged some relationships with a school district that aren't normal. I forged some relationships with a fire department, with a police department. I mean, it was like there was some things going that most churches don't have those relationships, and it was there. And so God, a few weeks ago, opened this door for us to have a temporary home while we put everything we have together and add it up and save and find a more permanent home. And this temporary home he opened up for us, crazy, located in Bridgeton. And some of you are still thinking, just tell me where we're going, all right? Because that's going to be important for us. But let me tell you this first, okay? So let me tell you this first, all right? I watched a bunch of videos on how to do, no, I'm just kidding. This place is only going to charge us $1,500 a month all in. And when I say all in, I mean all in for everything. $1,500 a month for everything, to be there every Sunday, to have it on different special occasions, electric, gas, water, everything, just $1,500 a month. They're giving us a 1-year lease. However, they said if you find a place in the 1-year time, I mean, you can leave anytime. And we're not going to make you pay anything. You can just go. If you want to renew at the end of the year because you need another year, we're open to that. And then they said, you don't have to change your service times. If you like Sunday morning at 10, to which we said, yes, we do. We don't want to change that. They're like, well, you can do that. Then they said, hey, we're going to provide you with a sound system. We're going to provide you with a lighting system. We got a projector with this big screen. We got chairs. And now the chairs are cool, but yes, we do have to set them up and tear them down every Sunday. But when I say we means Kevin and I. So you don't have to worry, okay? It means Kevin and I. If you want to help, we'll take it. But Kevin said to add that. But we'll be there. We'll have it ready. And I can't tell you how cool this is, because if we stayed there for a year and our giving would stay the same, we'd easily be able to add like another $75,000 or $80,000, and we'd have around $250,000 for a more permanent home. But the best part is, the whole time we were doing that, we could go back to being the church God called us to be and helping people that God called us to help. And that's what I want to do. This past week, a person came up to me and she handed me a check. And she was a person that not long ago found herself in a spot where she needed some help. And this church came alongside and helped her very much with finances. And it allowed her to keep her place, and it allowed her to keep her car, and it allowed her to eat, and it allowed her to stay. And a few weeks ago, unsuspecting to me, she walks up to me and she's like, I love this church. And she hands me this check. And it's like more than what we had given. This church matters. And I want to be able to do more of that, because that matters to people. This new temporary location is located only 4.6 miles from here. I drove it 5 times to make sure, because I don't want to lie to you. 4.6 miles from this parking lot to their parking lot. If you drive like my wife, that is only 3 minutes, okay? 3-minute drive time. If you drive the speed limit like myself and other good law-abiding driving, safe citizens, it might take you 5 or 6 minutes, okay? But if you want to get there quicker, just call back. She'll pick you up. So are you ready to know where it's at? All right. Well, next week, no, I'm just kidding. Here it is. Gateway Nazarene Church in Bridgeton, Missouri. It's located at 11702 Old St. Charles Rock Road. They have opened up their door. Here's another angle that you can see. This is actually what you see from the road, but it's the back of their building. They have 2 entrances. Ours is going to be this one. You can see the welcome sign. If you pull in and you don't see the welcome sign, you're not welcome, okay? And you should go in the other entrance next time. You'll know you're using the correct entrance if you see this as you start going up it. That they have a really cool parsonage there on the right, and you just keep going up there, that driveway. Once you get up there, our parking area is going to be over. Pastor Tiffany has her RV parked there right now. We have some additional parking on the other side if you want to get a little closer to the door. That's right there. We will have simple church signs at our entrances. We'll have them where we can park, so all you got to do is look for those. This is the front of the building you see when you pull around back. And this next picture, you're going to see our entrance. This is going to be our entrance right there. And if you notice, the other part of the building, brick, was a smaller part. This part of the building is bigger, and everything you see from right there to the very back of that building, they're letting us use. They're letting us use the bigger part of the building. In this next part, you're going to see our entrance to our building. We'll have signs all over that mark where you can see it. This is a closer picture there of our entrance. Now check this out when you walk in. Here's what happens when you walk in our entrance. This is the hallway that you're going to see. When you walk down that hall, the first door on the left leads to our sanctuary. The sanctuary also doubles as a gymnasium. However, it is a large sanctuary that's sound baffled. You can see the cool stage there. It seats up to 400 people, so it's going to allow us to pack it out, and I think we will. Off to the side of the sanctuary, there is an area where we're going to have a coffee bar. This area over here, we will now be serving you your coffee through the window. It's going to be cool. Be lots of tables set up there that we can sit at. And this next picture, you can see the kitchen. We have access to this huge kitchen. Yeah. Some of you are like, hey, Kev, we're going to be a little while yet. There you see, I think we have another picture maybe of the kitchen. We also told them about our backpack ministry, and when we told them about our backpack ministry, they immediately wanted to become involved, and so they told us about a ministry they do. In Bridgeton, a lot of the churches came together several years ago, and they formed a ministry called Community Helping Ministry. And in all the churches, when someone in need comes and needs food or clothing or personal hygiene or financial assistance, there's about 15 churches involved in Community Helping Ministry, and they all play a specific role. This church provides personal hygiene needs. This is a picture of their pantry. So from day one, we're going to hook up with them. Twice a week, they have people come, and they will get diapers out of here. They'll get toothpaste, deodorant. We already have extremely strong ties in the community. But from day one, we are going to entrench ourselves in this community. And listen, because we know this, and I said it earlier, Bridgeton doesn't just need another church. They don't. But it could use an outward-facing church. It could use a church like we set out to be and started right there 13 years ago. A church like James, the brother of Jesus, started. Here's how James described that church that he started. He said this in Acts 15. It's my judgment, therefore, that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God. James said to this group of people, listen, the church is making it hard. We're putting obstacles in the way. We need to get those out of the way because people need Jesus. And that's what we're going to continue to be. And we're going to get better at it by showering that community with love, by showering them with service and generosity, perhaps like some of them have never experienced from Christians. And we're going to continue to create a church that removes every single unnecessary obstacle between people and their Savior. Because we are convinced, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, we are convinced that if anyone, and I mean anyone who begins to just follow Jesus, we're convinced it immediately starts to make a difference in their lives. And I'm convinced of this. You can start following Jesus before you even believe. And we see that over and over again in the New Testament. And if that language puts us at odds with certain Christian movements, then so be it. We'll be at odds because I'm not following them. I'm following my Savior. I'm following my Messiah. And I'm going to follow him on his coattails till the day I leave this earth. I'm staking my life on this. And so many of you are too. We are going to make an impact and a difference there and get even more involved with the school district, with the community. On Friday, I was at a meeting actually with Mary Kay Campbell, who's a member of Simple Church, and she serves on the school board at Pattonville. She was getting an award from a North County group, and one of the other school board members looked at me, and I said, hey, we're getting ready to move back into the district. And she went, oh my gosh, can I meet with you next week? There's something that we want to do at the school, and it needs to be a church. And the only church I can think that would be crazy enough to do it would be yours. And I went, I think that's good. I'm pretty sure it is. We are going to get involved, and that's why this is what our new logo is going to look like. You have that slide, Kathleen? We've decided to go with our new logo, and we've added the word Bridgeton. And the other reason we want to add that simple word Bridgeton is just in case we end up planting Simple churches in other communities. And for some of you, you might go, wait a minute. Russ, you're 56 years old. What are you talking about? I'm talking about something has happened inside of me in the past few months, and I am excited. I am so jazzed up because once again, I've been awakened to this vision that God gave me many years ago, that because of some ups and downs, I've kind of let it settle. And I've let sometimes what other people or other churches or other denominations say go, maybe you shouldn't go that way, maybe you shouldn't do it. And we are living proof we should do it this way. And so I thought, you know what, let's throw that in there because perhaps we end up starting other churches in other areas. A couple of weeks ago in prayer, I got this sense, and I don't think you've ever heard me say this before, and you probably won't again, because I'm not a big, hey, I was praying and God said to me person, but I got this sense on the inside of me that God was nudging me saying, Russ, you guys are just getting started. You guys are just getting started. And I am excited, and I hope and pray that you are too. And if you're not, I just want to ask you something from my heart. Will you please try? Will you please try to stay with us just for a few months after we make this move? And at that point, if that 4.2 miles longer or the 4.2 miles closer, depending on where you live, if it's not working for you, please, by all means, come give us a hug and find a place that you can plug in. When people leave this place, I don't get bitter. I don't get ticked off. I don't go home and cry and badmouth people. We come and go. That's who we are. But listen, I want you to know this. I want you. We want you here. It's more than we need you here. We want you here. We want you to be a part of this next chapter because I really think this next chapter is going to be the most exciting. We're already planning a community service, and I've invited the mayor of Bridgeton, every city council member of Bridgeton, the police chief, the fire chief, the school superintendent, the school board, other community leaders, because I'm tired of them just knowing me. They need to know you guys, and they need to see who's made it possible for the last so many years for us to do things we've done. They need to see the people who made it possible to have a pastor to serve voluntarily as a chaplain at a police department in a fire district. They need to see the church that feeds kids because of the backpack ministry. And I'm tired of them just knowing me. I want them to see you. Also, most of you are better looking, so that helps too, okay? I want them to feel what we do. Listen, this is exciting. Kevin, I know you guys have a celebratory song we're going to sing, so if you guys work your way up here, but I want you to hear this. If you hear anything today, I want to say this to you. I would really like you for just a second to just lean in for a second and hear my heart say this to you. I'm 100% with this. I believe the best is yet to come. I do. And I believe that we are like getting ready to enter into the best season that this church has ever had. And the reason I believe that is because we're going to walk with Jesus. There are so many people, they've got this void inside of them, and they're trying to fill it. And they're asking these questions like, how do I fill it? Well, when can I fill it? Well, why should I fill it? And I know that you and I together, we don't have all the answers, but so many of us, we've tasted of this Jesus, haven't we? We've tasted of what it's like to follow him, and we found out that with Jesus, it's a better path. So we are going to live the way, and we are going to love the way he said to live and he said to love.